Welcome back, my fellow agents, to a rather late episode on Tuesday. Today, we're going to be talking about the first original Jonny Quest movie called Johnny's Golden Quest, which messes with the timeline hugely, and I consider it as not canon because of certain events. If had they done it a different way, well, then it would have been fine. But they did not, so it's just not canon. Sorry, but not sorry. It is I, X7, your host of Xenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. And uh, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and vote in the poll. No, there won't be any poll. Leave a comment and hit the notification bell to be, if you want to be, notified of new content every day. Having said all that, let's roll. All right, we start out with a very exciting sequence of Johnny trying to steal some stuff, and Race chasing him. And since we know that they're good friends, we know that Johnny's really not in trouble. He gets zapped in a short amount of time, but they're all happy because Race's heart rate isn't elevated. Haji says he gets to be the bad guy next time, and that he won't be as easy to catch, and does his sim salabim. They really needed to give him a couple of extra magic words, maybe hocus pocus diplodocus, if you will, but Race catches him pretty easily. Then we get to see Johnny's mother, Dr. Rachel Quest, calling them on their little phone, their video phone. All right, so here's where we get into the weeds. This movie was originally released on the USA Network. The release date was April 4th, 1993, and it is supposed to be a sequel to both the original series and the 1986 New Adventures of Jonny Quest, but it's not. And now I'm going to have to stop here because... Now, where were we before I was so rudely interrupted? So here's Quest headquarters in Mexico, not in Key West, in Florida. And as we've noticed, as I've said, Johnny's mother is alive, and Haji's there, going against the first series and the second series completely. Johnny's mother was gone. Now, we weren't ever told how. Had this part been told in flashback, minus Haji, it would have made perfect sense. There is a major... we're not going to go through too much of the cast here. I think he's a major. I don't know. No, I can't tell. Oh, and actually, that's Ed Gilbert as the commander. And Rob Paulson is Haji. Will Nipper is known professionally as Will Estes in the Blue Bloods, but he was Jonny Quest. Don Messick, of course, the late great Don Messick was Dr. Quest and Bandit. Granville Van Dusen, Roger Race Bannon, as he was in the 1986 series, and Rob Paulson. Paul Paulson's a different guy altogether. Pinky, Pinky and the Brain fame, was Haji, and he was also in the original, or in the 1986 continuation. Jeff Tambor plays our villain, the big bad Dr. Zinn, and we'll go through the rest as they show up. So there they are. She's alive. She's a biologist. She's alive. It just had this been a flashback, it would have worked so much better. But something's happening in the Amazon. Plants are mutating. Animals are mutating. So off the Quest team goes for I-1. That's Intelligence 1. And then we see Jade. This is now Jade Kenyon. Jade. That's not the Jade we know, the Jezebel Jade, who was vaguely, possibly Eurasian, but definitely not a redhead. And generally, I'm all for redheads, but once again, that's not Jade. I mean, that might she might be a different Jade, but Race makes mention of her always doing something for a buck, and off they go. Johnny's mom has trained some dolphins. She's got a communicator in her ear, which is actually prescient. And they run into a two-headed and eight-eyed crocodile. I didn't notice it had eight eyes. One of the mutants, and Bandit bites it in the tail. Dr. Quest gets some samples, but then they get captured by these things, mutates or replicants, as they're called in the movie. Movie runs 87 minutes, and it goes by pretty quick, but it's good. It's just not Jonny Quest good. I mean, that first series is just impeccable. The second series is better than I remembered it, and at some point in time we will get to review it. And this, so, but the first one first. But I thought I'd do this. Bandit's the same, pretty much. In the second series, he mugs for the camera a little too much, but here he's just fine. He's also really good in the team up movie with Tom and Jerry of all things, and I think we've reviewed that already. And there's our big bad Dr. Zinn, who looks a little worse for the wear now, although they never met face to face. So this is the first time they actually meet the Quest team and uh, the big bad there, Dr. Zinn. He wants to, create a clone of himself, and he does. But unfortunately, Race shows up. He grabs. This is the crux of the emotional crux here, where Benton is supposed to shoot Quest out of or not Quest, but Zinn out of the sky, but he's got Rachel. Johnny's hanging down, and Quest won't do it. They crash. There's an explosion. Rachel's dead. See, flashback, take out. Well, you'd have to take out Race, maybe, but at least you take out Haji. You do this as a flashback to today, and while Johnny's got a bad attitude because he hates his dad for not taking the shot and blames him, everyone's like, well, we're trying to help him, but he won't do it. Since this was on the USA channel, they got some more money thrown at it. The animation's definitely bumped up. Quest has the last mutated flower, and then he's trying to make up with Johnny. This is the new character, which is 3DAC, played by Betty Jean Ward, who's a comedian and been in plenty of movies. And let's see what else. The current voice guide for It's a Small World, which, I hate that, right? She was Janna of the Jungle fame, and Elektra in Space Stars, Medusa and Namorita in Spider-Man, Betty Ross and Alicia Masters in The Incredible Hulk, Jaina, Wonder Woman, and young Bruce Wayne in Super Friends from 1984 to 85, Princess Allura in the original Voltron, Marcella, she's in a lot. Anyway, but she and Bandit have a love-hate relationship. And here's the president asking Benton about this, what kind of malarkey is about him quitting I-1. Malarkey? Wow. He wasn't president in 1993, was he? So there's Hardak having an issue with Bandit. They're packing up because everyone's devastated. Benton's quit I-1. I keep wanting to call it M1, but I-1, and they wanted to let the dolphins free. Johnny has a fit. Johnny's very petulant. Now I understand, he's 12 or 13 and he's going through a lot, but he needed a smack. He gets scared of balloon skeletons. It's Dia de los Muertos in Mexico. And there we see Jessie for the first time, and she's got a mask. They rescue her, of course, and steal a car. This doesn't get him in trouble, but stealing the mask does. Now Jessie's all happy that a 13-year-old can drive a car. So, but then the policia show up and they arrest Johnny and Haji, and Jessie disappears. Benton reaches out again. Johnny's petulant baby. Then these two decided they're going to get him. The agent there we see back here who's gotten him out thanks to I1, wants him back on the team to investigate. These two decide to do it. Johnny's playing with the, or at least remembering playing with dolphins. I mean, there's a lot of good interplay here. It's a little talky, but for the runtime, it's fine. The replicants are kind of creepy and slobbery and a little alien inspired, definitely. Uh, it They interrupt the network to bring the shopping. They interrupt the security systems and bring the uh, home shopping network in here, which is probably the worst thing you could do. He's about to kill Johnny, but look at there's some things here. There's the Quest One, which is definitely in better shape than it has been in the last series. Race shows up. The replicant traps him in the airlock and pumps all the air out, but they catch him. Bandit once again chomps on a replicant. It goes, so it's looking for the mask because old Zin here wants it. And then Jesse shows up feeding him a cock and bull story about her dad, her alleged dad, which they believe. Jesse's played by Andy McAfee, who would be in the next movie as well. And she also voiced the second voice of Sarah in the, Unending Land Before Time series. And who? Phoebe. Oh, she was in something called Hey Arnold. Now we think that Jade might be working for Zin, but they've got armed guards on her, so common sense says no. But off they go. Johnny's idolizing Race a lot because he's mad at his dad. And here we have some ice sculptures. They're in Japan now, probably in Kobe, I think. They get caught by. They think that Jade's working for him, but they don't know. And Jade here is voiced by Jo Beth Williams. Kramer versus Kramer, The Big Chill, The Day After, and Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. But, Jesse obviously likes Johnny, and Johnny's clueless because he's a boy. But they go out sailing. She yells at him for being rude to her dad. And she'd do anything if it was her dad, but she doesn't know who her dad is because she thinks he's dead. Then they get in a snowball fight and end up, almost cuddling in the snow, which is, if you're going to be that much in the snow, that's what you need to do. So Quest thinks, oh, Jesse may be the best thing to happen to Johnny. And Haji's like, okay. And Bandit's just watching him because he's a little voyeur. He bites Hardek's cord and gets zapped and then makes her repeat herself a lot. And now we're finding about this Vincent Devlin. Wasn't Devlin a motorcycle show, cartoon? In the University of Rome, so off we go to Rome. And guess who's watching him? I forget what he's got there for a race. Looks like booze, doesn't it? Now Jesse, he's getting, that's aftershave because race is gonna. But and Jesse's thinking, I wonder if Johnny will ask me out, Bandit. I hope he doesn't pull the old horror movie thing on me and so he can put his arm around me. Replicant shows up. Hachi uses his sim salabim hocus pocus to make do the magic rope trip, and then the replicant melts in front of us. This is pretty graphic. There's another shot here where Zin just kills his flunky dead, right there in a movie. You don't see that in regular. You wouldn't have seen that in the 80s. Well, actually, we'll talk about that when we review it. But I believe somebody got killed in the 80s Jonny Quest show. And look, they found the Da Vinci Code. And Johnny does not because he's letting his rage lead his actions, and he'll never win that way. Everyone knows that. But more. I miss my wife. I miss my mom. You want to smack both of them. I mean, I get it, but come on. So now they're in Rome, and these workers have thrown these at him. Once again, Haji and his magic to the rescue. They kind of overdid it with the magic. He didn't do it all in every episode of the original series. I know that. There's the Quest mobile, which looks pretty cool. I mean, it's got to be pretty well insulated and got some armament, but they don't use it. I've heard you Roman types were very romantic. and they get captured and they don't remember anything. So they've been hypnotized or something. And Johnny's out to get Zin. Bandit gets a pizza dough dropped on him. Not really. It's not the lady in the tramp, I'll tell you what. Um, Benton tries to team up with Johnny, but Jesse shows up and says, "Let's go, Johnny." Sorry, Benton. Even if you were on good terms, you were going to lose that one. That's just not going to happen. Benton gets Bandit, who immediately falls down, chases a cat down the storm drains in what Rome there. Johnny does say, "If you're scared," and Jesse, for all her, I don't want to. I hope he doesn't pull it. Goes right along with it. Don't you think her eyes should have been green though? Then they find a will-o'-the-wisp. Haji tells them what it's called in India, and I don't remember because it. None of my Indian languages are. Don't know any of them. At least that's the story I'm saying. But they track that along. Oh, look out! It's a trank dart. Uh, she says, "Mom," and Zin shows up, and he loves it when a plan comes together. He's been watching the A Team a bit, I guess. So Jade says, "I'm not working for him." The truth comes out, but then Zin figures, "Hey, if I'm going to make myself immortal, I want Bannon's vitality, Race Bannon's vitality. You wouldn't want any other Bannon's vitality because he doesn't have any." And that's Snipe, played by Frank Welker, the Fred Jones, and many, many, many hundreds of other. We've talked about him. We've seen his picture in the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes. Captures them all, but Haji pulls out his magic gem trick. Makes First he tries to hypnotize Snipe, and that doesn't work. But the having the dead come to life, I'm assuming these are illusions, but you never know. And that's pretty. This is kind of scary and horrible. Johnny tries to get out, and finally Jade blabs that Race is Jesse's dad. She gets mad at her because might get my dad killed. So now Jesse's mad at her mom, Johnny's mad at his dad, and they go out and talk. Apparently they're professional enough to all work together. Off they go. They're at Zin's compound, fighting replicants and getting captured. The dolphins show up. Where's their frickin' great white sharks with frickin' lasers? They're not even ill-tempered. Although these are pretty ill-tempered sharks. And, he's still planning to take Race's vitality, but Johnny's still got his laser zapper on his arm after being rescued by the dolphins. But there's his dad and Jade and Haji, who's like the voice of reason here. The others are not. He doesn't get to do too much other than magic. Here he lifts up that. They electrocute two replicants who melt, probably. Johnny blasts Race free. See, he's got a zap. Jade does a flying dragon kick. And then he's like, "Daughter?" It's like, okay, we need to talk. But, this is where they get the flying dragon kick. But I didn't get a good shot of it. So all of these pictures came from the Blu-ray of the Johnny's Golden Quest and the other movie. The insect. What is this thing? The cyber insects, which once again uses Zin as the big bad. He got overused in a hurry. And the cool thing was he's only in the show 4 or 5 times, and in the next 3 Jonny Quest movies, he's the big bad in every one of them. So there he's about to get killed. Johnny gets trapped behind there, but he's got a way out. The dolphins who come and rescue him, both of them. One's smiling and one is not. And you're like, all right, are we done with this kid yet? Everything goes kablooey, including Dr. Zin. There it goes, except for an escape pod gets shot out. Well, what do you suppose that's going to be like at the very end of the movie? I mean, maybe in 93 this wasn't so cliche, but by now, 32 years later, it's a cliche. They're like, okay, I've got a family and we need to go vacation and get to know each other. Johnny's all right. They've made up. He realizes that he hated Zinn instead of his dad, really hated Zinn. And now we're opening Quest Center back up in Mexico, not in Florida. And Hardak gives Bandit a gift, a bed, which he falls asleep in immediately. Jesse kisses Johnny goodbye till we meet again in the next movie and the next series. So I'm still I mean, the fact that they made Jade completely Caucasian when they could have used, a little different, a little more color here. It's just why. And the fact, that they made Johnny's mother alive, and it just flies against everything. So not canon. Even though it's a good movie. It gets going. It took about half the movie to get going. If they'd have done it as a flashback, it would have been way better. Yeah. So Johnny, Race and his family are now on a cruise. Hopefully they don't go to a sea haunt or anything, or the Sargasso Sea. And then yes, there's the escape pod, which opens up its eyes, and the clone is still alive. So even though they hadn't perfected it, so I don't know how popular this was associated with. So it was produced in association with Hanna-Barbera. I don't know. Let's see. They are the executive HB production company and Phil Cartoons. But the animation's quite good, and the story's pretty good. I'd like to give it a higher grade than it does. The next two movies are better, if you can believe the fact that the Tom and Jerry movie, which is a comedy for the most part till the last third, is better. But overall, it's an enjoyable movie. I mean, I'm glad to be able to see it, and its copy's great. So, my fellow agents, yes, Johnny's Golden Quest in Zenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. So, until our next assignment, there's Turu. This is X7, signing off and phasing out.
World premiere movie. Based on the original series, it features familiar characters like Race Bannon.
Good idea.
Dr. Benton Quest.
We could get killed.
Haji.
Sim Sim Salabim!
Johnny Quest.
Stick around, he's full of tricks.
And the lovable Bandit. Which poses the question, what's different between the movie and the original series?
The biggest difference between the original series and what we're doing today is to push the story, to push the emotional impact of what these characters are going through. So there's a change from the beginning where they start off and where they end up.
Question. Okay, what's the story?
The ecology of the world is being threatened, and Johnny Quest...
He has kind of a conflict with his dad because his dad didn't shoot Zinn when he had the chance.
And it's sort of a break, from the family.
Dr. Zinn is the mastermind of the whole plot. Without giving away too much, he has created a synthetic gold. What he's using that gold for is really what's behind our story.
What will it look like?
Characters, we have costume designs. A lot of times I have to design a lot of weapons and give them a real hyper-tech feel.
What will it sound like?
I guess there was something that they thought maybe in my voice that I could lend to the evil Dr. Zinn.
Dr. Benton Quest is the scientist around whom all of the adventures take place. Bandit is...
A classic 60s series that reared a generation is now a full-length animated high-tech movie of the 90s.
I think it's a really good adventure.
An all-new Jonny Quest is back in Johnny's Golden Quest, a USA world premiere movie. Sunday, April 4th at 7, 6 Central.